Hey everybody, welcome. How's everybody doing today? Who's on here so far?
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, man? How you been, brother?
Good. How's the house coming along there?
Oh, not too bad, man. So I moved into a new house in December, end of December. Like we're like putting up the tree on Christmas Eve, and
Okay.
then we got the hive base going up. So a remodel over there, 2007 house that nobody has ever done any kind of like love on. So I got those remodels going, and then I bought 3 mobile homes on an acre, and I got those remodels going. So absolute madman right now. But yeah, so far so good in all fronts.
That's awesome.
How you been, brother? What you working on? Still crushing it? Have you seen any kind of like steady ups or slowdowns or anything, or things still moving?
Things are bustling. So got like maybe 12 deals in contract right now. Moving those. Doing a deal with you guys through Ray and Junior in Florida.
Sick, dude. Okay, nice. Are you the one that found the buyer for that deal in Florida for Ray?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. Okay. Yeah, nice, man.
That lot in Florida is literally across the street from a lot I bought like 2 months ago and ended up selling to another guy. So when I saw that, I was like, holy smokes. Like I literally just bought a lot there 2 months ago. So I ended up finding the guy. I closed on it myself and just held on to it and wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. And then ended up reaching out to this guy I saw had bought a couple other things at like top dollar. So I just asked him if he might be interested, and he said, yeah, and we agreed on our price. So I went back to him on this one. And so hopefully we can get that closed here in the next 2-3 weeks.
And I don't know if it was you freezing up or me, but a lot of what you just said broke up.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I just was able to bring in one of my buyers that had bought a couple of other duplex lots from me. And he agreed and we're good to go. It's in title and hopefully close in the next 2-3 weeks.
Insane, man. Do you keep all of your buyers on a like in a file folder? So let's say you get a lead in, I don't know, Colorado. Do you already have like a list of buyers in your system where you can just pull them up and say, hey, I got plenty of people here now, people you've done business with in the past?
Yeah, basically. And then I'm working just a few kind of specific areas. So my buyers list is pretty concentrated. I have like 3 or 4 people that are buying all my deals right now. So it's not the areas I'm working. I'm not blasting it out to tons of people because I don't need to. And I'm getting like top dollar for my stuff for my buyers. So I wouldn't get a dime more unless maybe I put it on the MLS, maybe a couple of bucks more, but then you got to factor in all those costs and stuff like that. So I got people paying like 90-95% of basically what I would put on the MLS for.
Damn. Yeah, I love finding those aggressive buyers, man, that love to buy at even full price or above. Do you
I
have
got 3 or
any
4 of them now that are gobbling up everything. So if I get it and I it's probably about an 80-90% shot that they're going to want it. So I'm moving all my stuff through them, but it's always good to have new buyers and stuff in the mix in case people slow down their buying or, things cool down or whatever. So you don't want to ride the same horse too long. You want to spread it out a little bit if you can.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, do you have any kind of like method for finding buyers in an area you're not familiar with?
For like rural vacant land or infill lots?
Yeah, maybe just anything right now. So I started marketing nationwide maybe about a week and a half ago. And yeah, so we're starting to get contracts in multiple states. So, back to the drawing board as far as like finding buyers and that kind of stuff, trying to move stuff.
I mean, the first call I make are the agents always if I'm new to a market, and I just see there was a one of the podcasts I did with Daniel when he was filming out in that office and you guys were doing some podcasts out there. I told him that I had an agent. I was brand new in this area and I sent marketing out. And I started getting a bunch of deals back. And what I did was I just started calling a bunch of agents and said, hey, do you have buyers who'd be interested in these kind of lots or whatever? And some of them said no, or, yes, at this price, but it was too low. And I found a couple who said, or one in particular who said, yeah, I got a buyer. They'll take all these things. So I'll take it at this specific price, which was great. And so what happened was I ended up doing like probably 10 or 15 deals with her, and I gave her $1,000 for every deal I did with her buyer, even after like the first or second one. So I could have gone to her buyer and probably cut her out, but that's not good business. And we did a bunch of deals together, and she ended up bringing me another buyer on the deal for like a $57,000 assignment because I kept a relationship good with her. So, you want to keep those, you want to nurture those relationships is what I'm getting at.
Dude, I love that model. So yeah, anytime I do a deal with somebody, if somebody brings me a buyer or they bring me like a lead source, yeah, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like mentally tagging that person forever now. So yeah, I try to do the same thing, try to keep the lines of communication open, try to keep the checks flowing instead of thinking like, hey, yeah, well, I already got this connection. So now I'm just going to like monetize it for myself.
If you go out and find the buyer on your own, sure, of course, you need to nurture those relationships too. And there's no reason to just like hand out money for no reason. But on deals where agents, and some of these buyers are protective with their relationships with their agents because they don't want to deal with anybody else. They only want to deal with the agent that they kind of have bringing them deals. That's not everyone, but sometimes that happens. And that's the case with one of these buyers I'm working with through an agent, and they only want to deal with the agent. So that's fine. And so whether I make $3,000 or 20 grand, we have a deal where she gets $1,000 for every time her buyer closes. So, she's made money just literally off her relationship. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't even do any of the paperwork. So I look at it more as like kind of like a partnership, like a non-formal partnership. It's kind of a handshake deal, but it's a good way to do that. So if you're new to a market, just reach out to, you have to call like 20, 30, 40 agents. Like it's not, rarely are you going to get somebody on the first or second call that's like going to, rock your world. Most of them are, you just got to kind of weed through a lot of them. But once you find a couple who are investor friendly and have buyers lists and have people they work with, and they have their ear to the streets about what people are looking for, or have pocket buyers and stuff like that, it goes a long way. But you just got to burn the phones to find somebody who can do that.
How do you find those agents, man? Is there one place where they all gather? Is there a list somewhere?
I just go on the listings and find out who the buyer's agent was for sold listings.
Is that like just I guess MLS or PropStream or something?
Just go on Redfin or Zillow, or I like Redfin. Redfin's my favorite of all those sites. I'm not a big Zillow fan, but it's fine. It has its place. Redfin doesn't cover rural areas. It usually only covers major metros. So you can't always get Redfin data in certain places. Zillow's okay. It's fine. But if you go in and just basically look at, you can call the listing agents too, because a lot of times they'll have buyers, but for the most part, I look and see who the buyer's agent was on any type of deal that is similar to what I have under contract. You got 20 acres out somewhere, try to find somebody who sold 5 to 40 acres or 5 to 100 acres, 10 to 100 acres, and just call every agent that had a listing, represented a buyer, anything, and just introduce yourself and ask away. I've sold plenty of deals that way. They don't always work like that, but it's a great way to start, especially if you don't know anybody.
Yeah, great info, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. We're
also,
getting
you just
leads.
Pull a cash buyers list on PropStream for the type of, anybody that's bought 20, 30, 40, 50 acres, 100 acres, whatever it is. You can pull those cash buyers on there and just skip them and text them or call them or whatever too, if you don't want to go the agent route or in addition to it.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I've never tried it. I've never tried PropStream, but I've heard people doing that, or like looking up the agents that have been on deals before. Just never took that route before. So, but I'll tell you, I've been working with more and more agents that have buyers, and that's been working out amazing, man. It's like my preferred strategy now.
Well,
yeah,
people get greedy and they want to keep every cent for themselves, and they want to bleed every deal dry and squeeze every nickel out of it. And it's just not the right way to do it. Like I'm not advocating like just giving away money to people who don't deserve it, or just being willy-nilly about like, just dishing out dough. But like if somebody's going to bring you a buyer, or somebody's going to bring you, help you move your deal, whether that's a JV thing or it's an agent thing or whatever that is, like, they need to be compensated for that too. I know you're great at that. You're very much a share the wealth type, and I try to be that way too. So and there's always another deal around the corner too. So I'm happy to compensate anyone that helps me move a deal that I need help with, and especially if I reach out to them and I'm asking them for help. So I mean, nobody's working for free. Nobody's working for free when they work with me. So yeah, I think you feel the same way.
No, that's super cool, man. That's kind of my philosophy, because people even do stuff, or they'll help you out. They'll do a little favor. They'll, do something for you, and they're like, no, don't worry about it. Don't get me nothing. I'm like, nope, nobody works for me for free.
No, I mean, it could be something as simple as lunch or dinner, or $100, or if it's more formal, put them on the HUD and they get 1,000 or 2,000, whatever you agree upon,
Something.
of course. So, but anyways, call agents in the area. People who are doing deals. You can always find out who's doing deals by the listing agent and the buyer's agent on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor or whatever site you like using, and then pulling cash buyers list too. I mean, there's other ways to do it, but those are two ways to get, like, at least going to get yourself out there and start talking to people who are buying.
Awesome, bro. All good tips, man. Thank you for sharing that. I hope everybody that's listening is paying attention, because even for myself, somebody that's been doing this for over 3 years, I mean, we all have a lot to learn. So everything that I was just saying right now, I'm like, yes, yeah, this is exactly what I needed today to take what I'm doing right now to the next level, bro. So we appreciate you.
Well, and honestly, I'm not great with it with rural vacant land. It's rural vacant land's a little tougher, because you start flipping lots and info lots and stuff. You can get a lot of the same buyers that are builders or developers, or there's just some people who like collecting lots. You can get a lot of repeat buyers that way. Rural vacant land, you can too, but it's a little bit different, because you're talking 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 acres, whatever it is, more. And not all those are repeat buyers, unless you have a couple of whales in the county that are buying up everything. Those are of course great people to know. But if you're just trying to move onesies, twosies, then I think the agent method is the best, because they typically have their ear to the ground there too. And but that's not my strong suit. I can move info lots usually pretty quickly in most places. It's the rural vacant land. Even dispo for that can be tough sometimes.
Awesome information, brother. Yeah, this is what I needed to hear tonight. I've even heard of calling the title companies and asking them who the hitters are in the area.
Yeah,
I've done that. Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Wow, are they pretty open to giving out that information?
Yeah, and well, sometimes they're not always going to be super willing to share that, but sometimes they will. And I've done that in a couple of markets in Florida. I have really, really good relationships with a couple of title companies now that I do the majority of my deals with one of them, and I do some with another one. But I asked them in the beginning. I said, hey, who are your buyers? Who's buying up all these lots and things like that? And they've told me. And it didn't work out for some of the lots I had. They weren't interested in them, but they told me. And it's kind of with the understanding of, hey, we're happy to help you out as much as we can. Obviously, they're not agents or anything like that. So there's a certain level of like, they'll help you out a little bit, especially if you bring them business, but they're not usually going to cross the line into doing like agent type stuff. But they will tell you if you ask them nicely and they think they're going to get some business from you, who the people are that are doing a lot of deals there. And I had one of my title reps recommend a buyer for me for a couple of deals. It didn't work out, but the guy was super nice, and it just wasn't exactly what he was looking for. But we talked through the title company, so that was cool.
Man, that's something right there that I think a lot of people don't value, is creating great relationships with title companies. I'm like best friends with the person who runs the title company where I do business at in Texas. She does all of my Texas deals. I mean, every single one. And they just bend over backwards for me. One time I got there, honestly, man, it was like 9 or 9:30 at night. Everybody in the title company's walking around with their shoes off. I mean, they're still working on our files like in the middle of the night. I want to say it was like a Friday night or something, dude. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, go home, like, please. Like, they were trying to get caught up on some files, and I was just like, I brought them like drinks and I brought them dinner and everything. And I'm like, I wish you guys would go home.
I was just going to say, knowing you, I'm sure you brought them dinner or bought them lunch the next day or something like that. That's a great way too. You got to make sure they're willing to accept those kind of things. Some title companies are a little, can be sticklers for not accepting gifts or not accepting what they think might be something like that. But if you ask them and they're doing good work for you, man, hook them up, send them coffee, send them lunch, get lunch catered at their office, tell them to go out to eat, and you can pay the tab you can literally call in and pay the tab over the phone. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. And the more you make them feel appreciated, your files will go to the top of the stack. I just had that conversation with my main title lady yesterday. She said she just got 40 new files come in the last 2 days. 40. Ooh. And guess whose stuff is going to the top? Like, guess whose stuff gets first attention? Mine. So yep. It goes a long way. You just, take care of those people, and they'll be happy to take care of you.
No, I love that too, man. I saw somebody post today on Facebook. They said that they had a chance to hang out with a billionaire, I'm sorry. And he said it's all about relationships. He said, once you get your systems and your processes and everything else streamlined, he said, it's 100% of people business. After that, you take care of people, you create great relationships, and it eventually starts to come back. And yeah, the title company, I mean, we send them flowers. I've catered their office a bunch of times. And anytime I'm in the area, I'm like, hey, can I pick up lunch for you real quick? That kind of stuff. And yeah, I had a deal, and this is so funny. I had a JV deal with one of the Hive members up in the Dallas area. And we got the contract signed, and we did not send it to title. Like, we completely forgot. Sellers calling me like, hey, we're almost ready to close. I'm like, yeah, we should be getting the title commitment back any minute. Nobody sent the freaking contract to title, dude. And I called him, and I'm like, hey, I have an emergency. I'm like, I really need this title back, like ASAP. Dude, the title commitment came back like in days. I was like, what the hell happened? How'd you do that? But I think it's just from, again, leverage, treating people good, that kind of stuff. And that was a lifesaver, because I think we're going to make somewhere between 50 and 100 on that deal. And I was like, the seller's getting a little antsy. He's super cool. But I mean, still, it was like we lost almost a month of just there was no title open on the file, and they hooked us up.
And that goes back to them knowing that you're going to take care of them. And it's you don't have to buy them gifts and lunches and stuff every day, but like just showing that they're appreciated and doing little things here and there to do that definitely helps out. And when you need a favor in a situation like that, and you got to say, hey, I need this title turned around in 48 hours, 72 hours, like, we dropped the ball, I'm so sorry. They're going to go above and beyond and do whatever they can to help you out. Now, if you're doing that all the time, that's a different story. But, sometimes things fall through the cracks, and you need someone to help you out and get the thing on track. And, you take care of them, they'll take care of you.
No, dude. I mean, it's just, no words can tell you what creating these relationships does. And I guess we all know it in the back of our mind, but like literally, like, to see it in action, taking care of people, partnering with people, having other people's best interest in mind. Yeah, it's like, that is the part of the business that nobody talks about. Like, there's no strategy, there's no spreadsheet for it. You can't put it into a calculator. But yeah, taking care of and valuing relationships is everything in this business.
Well, this is like the Wild West. This is not a corporate world. There are corporate parts of it within it, of course, but like, for people that are out hustling, getting deals and making their living like I do, and you and others, by getting deal flow and talking to buyers and talking to sellers and moving deals and, buying this and buying that. Like, if you don't do those things, you might not pay the price today or tomorrow, but maybe next month, maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, nobody wants to do business with you. So if you think kind of long-term like that, and, maybe you do a deal with somebody and you don't do another deal with them for 2 years because things happen, people go, go do other deals with other people, things, but that doesn't mean that, like, the well's dry. You can always tap back into people that are good people, and a year from now or 6 months from now, and just keep those relationships alive, and just basically be a good person and do what you can to kind of keep those flames going with all the people in your network, and just reach out and say hi. It doesn't have to be about real estate. Check in on them, see how their family's doing. And, just like you would treat anyone else, it's just, it goes a long way. And I'm not always great about that either. I don't always practice what I preach. Sometimes I need to center myself and call people in my life and the real estate world and just check in and say hello. And it doesn't always have to be about money. It can just, maybe this is a rough biz, man. Like, you can have you have plenty of up and down days, and I had one yesterday. I had a rough day yesterday. I don't even know why. I didn't get a deal, but, somebody in my network just reached out to say, hey, they didn't know I was having a rough day. They just called and said hi. It went a long way. So just remember that when you're on the hamster wheel of doing deals.
Yeah, I think this is a business where you can get stuck on the hamster wheel and you forget to make contact. You forget about people. I have unanswered text messages, and somebody texted me yesterday, and she's like one of my top team members, so she didn't take it offensively, but she's like, I'm not even gonna text you more. You don't even text me back. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I saw the text message. I'm like, okay, this is too much to text. I'll call her when I get a chance. And I just never called. So yeah, touching base with people, checking in with people, because I have those days too. I have some days where I just wake up and I'm like, I'm just not doing this today. So it's not working out. Yeah. So huge part of this business, man. It's super important. We can all drop the ball. I don't care how good you're doing. Everybody has bad days. And yeah, it's good to just check in on somebody. I called a friend of mine. He had a baby. And I'm like, hey, congrats. And he's like, for what? I'm like, well, the new baby. And as we got to talking, he's like, yeah, the baby's 30 days old. Like, oh my God, I so meant to like drop by, call him, everything. But yeah, time flies. So yeah, touching base with your people that you love and care about. And it does a lot of wonders for this business, even in your personal life. It's not all about business, but yeah,
No,
I feel you on that.
But especially within this business, and you're constantly making new relationships and meeting new people, and nurturing old relationships, creating new ones. And sometimes people fall by the wayside, things don't work out, whatever. That's just the nature of the business sometimes. But for the people that do have your interest in mind, and they're just good people like yourself and others, and a lot of others in the hive, just saying hi or checking in on, maybe ask them how their deals are going. And sometimes we get stuck in our own world and our deals. People have other stuff going on too, so maybe reach out and ask them how their deals are doing. What can I do to help you? I just texted, I talked to DeAndre this morning. He and I chatted, we were texting, and he was telling me about this great deal he just got. I mean, I was like super proud of him. Not that he needs me to be proud of him, but like, I was like, man, that's awesome. I was so happy for him. I was like stoked for him. He got this great deal locked up. It's funded. He got paid. It was a huge payday. And he was super stoked about it and shared it with me. And I was super happy for him. And, I just let him know, hey, mate, what can I help you with? I don't even know what that means or what that is, but like, there's something I can do to help you out, whether that be, whatever it is, just let me know and, figure out a way to get it done. So.
Yeah, I think one thing is we don't do it as a tactic, but I think just checking in with people too, it also positions you for more deals.
Sure.
Right. So you just call somebody and say, hey, just checking on you, man. How's it going? What are you up to? Anything that could help Dispo? Just kind of just to see what's up. Like I said, not even about business. And sure enough, yeah, they'll be like, hey, as a matter of fact, I got something I wanted you to take a look at. And then bang, there we are, off to the races.
One of my like B or C buyers, like somebody I don't go to immediately, is like somebody he's bought like maybe 10 or 15 of my deals, but they're usually like low dollar stuff that and he just like he'll buy it. He doesn't care. So he reached out to me. I haven't talked to him in like a month, and he just reached out to me yesterday and said, hey man, just checking in. Got any deals? Got anything cooking? I'm looking to buy some right now. Send me what you got. And I had 2 deals kind of floating in my pipeline that I kind of forgot about, honestly. They're sitting in my CRM at the bottom, and I have the contract. I was working on some bigger deals, more money, and I just kind of forgot about these two, to be honest. They're just sitting at the bottom. And we locked him up, and I got him assigned that day just because he reached out to just touch base. And it's it's not a ton of money, but we're going to get these deals. He closes. He says he's going to do it. He's going to close. His title company's good, and we just got the assignment off, and probably get paid in a couple of weeks. And it's not a ton, but just literally him reaching out, I probably would have not forgot about those, but they just weren't top of mind. So.
Yeah, I figure like this Dallas deal, right? If I didn't touch back with the person that I'm JVing with, like, hey, how are things going? Like, hey, did you send the contract? No, did you? No. So super important to touch the people, that you're working with or that you're thinking about.
Keep the lines of communication open, and if you have a lot of deals going on, of course they're all going to be in your CRM, and you're gonna have them lined up. But like sometimes you get busy. You're talking to other sellers, you're talking to buyers, and things slip through the cracks sometimes every once in a while. You try not to let that happen, but it happens. So, everyone kind of helping each other out and checking in and holding each other accountable, and all those things you can do is, it just goes a long way. So I don't want to monopolize the whole call, man. I just want to jump in and say, hey, so.
No, dude. Yeah, we appreciate you being on here, man. And then a lot of people are too shy to talk for whatever reason in a public forum like this. So yeah, I'm sure this conversation has helped a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm available to help if anybody has questions or anything that they want to run by me. If not, that's cool too. But happy to help in any way I can.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man.
Excuse me.
Yeah, thanks for the info.
This Loretta, I always have a question because this is such great information, as you all know. I'm just getting started. But anyway, I love the hive. And so my question to anyone who wants to answer, and Anthony will probably say, I don't know what Anthony's going to say, but anyway, my question is this. I live in California. You know what our property is like here. I just saw a piece of property that actually is not the owner, but it's an agent that has it up, and it's going for $1.5 million. My question to you, whoever's going to answer this, because I'm getting ready to call him as soon as I get off the call with you all. Would I just let him talk and see if he would go down on the price? And what would you consider would be a great price? The comps are saying the same thing, $1.5 million, $1.4 million, $1.3 million in the same area. It's a duplex, triplex type home. And I just want to just get some feedback. What do you guys think?
How long's it been on the market?
2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, reach out to the agent and just have a conversation and see what's going on. That's pretty early for them to start hitting the panic button and figuring out, how to get rid of something. So, but maybe you can just grab some information about what the seller's motivation is. Any other little like nuggets of information you can grab from the agent, and the more you can let them talk, the more sometimes they'll just let things spill that maybe they shouldn't. You never know. So ask a few questions and then just open-ended questions, and then just see if they'll just start talking. And then, you can kind of try to take whatever you can from that. But 2 days in the market's still pretty fresh. But you never know. You never know until you call and talk, right? So
that's right. And what I've learned just kind of watching in the last 5 days, most property, of course, is not staying on the market more than 2 days. But anyway, I'm going to do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good luck. Just try to get as much information as you can, and then, just go from there. It's the initial call is all about just figuring out motivation and all that fun stuff. If it's on the market, then, I'm guessing they're probably going to try and get top dollar, but right. I don't know. Weirder things have happened. You never know.
That's right. Thanks.
I have a question. I do land. I sell land, buy and sell land. And I haven't done any marketing on land sites or Facebook Marketplace as of yet to sell. So I kind of wanted some feedback on, what are the better sites to use, and pricing. I know I have to spend on marketing, but I don't want it to be like outrageous. And outrageous to me is like thousands of dollars a month.
Are you doing rural vacant land or infill lots?
So desert, yeah.
Yeah, like desert. Okay, stuff out in Arizona, New Mexico, all that.
Yeah.
Those things sell a lot on the land watch sites, which I know can be kind of pricey. But sometimes you can talk to people in the land game, and sometimes they have they'll rent out spots in their land.com account, so you don't have to necessarily go get one yourself. I know some people out there that do that. They might have like a platinum membership or whatever it is, where you can get 10 or 15 listings. And if they don't have all their properties up listed, they'll rent out spaces on their land.com sites for others who want to put their listing up there for a certain amount of money. Facebook Marketplace, I don't know how well that works for the desert squares. Agents, those things are usually like kind of lower dollar properties, but they move a lot. There's always tons of activity.
So I've been using agents for sure.
Oh, have you? Has it worked?
Yeah, it's been great. I've been using agents to sell, but I did run into, I have a couple of properties that I'm considering problem properties because my agent is saying that it would be a liability, so she's not going to take them on. So I have to figure out how to market them myself. and I'm still kind of working through that and getting the information, but I kind of have to go that route to kind of move these properties. And
Why
it's
are they problem properties? Are they like in wash zones or something?
no, there's a gas pipe running through one of them.
Okay.
And then the other one, which is very close to it, the gas pipe is like running through the corner of it.
Call
So,
the neighbors of all those properties and ask them if they want to buy it.
yeah, so I was gonna pull data and kind of send some letters to them first.
I wouldn't even do that. I would call them, try like figure out who the parcel owners are that are next. You can send a letter, of course. I would also, if you're going to send a letter, I would also skip them and call them, because nothing beats a phone call or a text if you can get through to them. Letters are great. I like them, but especially when you're reaching out to neighbors, a phone call or a text, you can just reach them so much more immediately. And sometimes people don't open their mail or they just get it and throw it away. You just never really know. So I would do both of those if you could, and just see if there's any interest there. But if not, and the agent doesn't want to take them on, did you buy them, or are you like assigning them?
I bought them. Yes, I bought them, and I feel like I paid. I definitely gambled on these, and I'm not happy with how much I paid for them. They were pretty expensive, expensive to me.
Sure. Yeah.
So I've tied up about close to $5,000 on each one. So I'm trying to figure out what's the right dollar amount. Should I just try to break even, with them?
What do you think is okay? So let's just take break even out of it, which is always a possibility. And in fact, sometimes I've sold lots quickly that I purchased and I knew weren't a great deal after I bought them, and I did for whatever reason, probably similar reasons like you're having right now, and I just wanted to. I could maybe have made a couple of bucks on them, but I was more interested in getting my capital back to go buy better deals.
Yeah.
So don't ever be afraid to sell a bad deal and just get your money back and quickly move on to the next thing. A lot of people get hung up on like, oh, I can't take a loss, or oh, I have all this time invested in this, so I got to make something.
I feel the same way. It's like, well,
so you get it.
My agent wouldn't take them. I was like, I went into panic mode. That was a bad day.
Well, I know that's tough. I've had a couple of properties like that over the years. One thing I would say moving forward, though, you probably already do this now, but any property you're looking to buy with your own money and not just get a contract and assign it, reach out to one of the agents in the area that you trust and have them vet the property before you buy it.
Yes. I know I should have. I trust her, and I don't know why I didn't, but
it happens. I've done that too. I bought properties I shouldn't have. We've all, if you do enough of them, you get a couple of ones that just aren't great along the way. So it happens to everyone. I just try to do whatever you can to get your money back and just quickly move on to the next thing, whether that be neighbor letters, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Just get it out there, move on, because the next thing you buy, you'll know to buy a little bit better. And
so here's my question: when you get pictures and stuff, I know you can get some stuff from the county, but I'm thinking of like trying to get some better pictures, especially if I'm going to market it on like Facebook Marketplace. First, I'm going to try to reach out to the neighbors. When you call, how are you, I guess, skip tracing them? Like, how are you pulling the data?
First thing I would do is go to True People Search and try to do it for free. Call every number that pops up on their name, because you're going to have their mailing address when you look them up. The ownership info.
Okay. Yeah. What if I pull their data on Data Tree and then skip trace?
Yep.
Okay.
So you can pay to skip trace them. No,
I'd rather not.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you might have to if all the numbers that True People Search bring back aren't good. They don't lead you anywhere. Then, but even then, it's going to be 10 or 15 cents to skip it. It's nothing. So, but I've gotten good luck when I've just been trying to reach out to random like onesie twosies type neighbors or owners or whatever through True People Search, and it's just super quick. Just punch in their name and address, and not the numbers aren't always great, but a lot of times they are, and I've gotten a lot of contact with those. So I would start with that, and then if you can't get a hold of them and you skip them and you still can't get a hold of them, then send them a letter. But I would try to call first. At least you have a conversation And you're going to know right away if they're even remotely interested before you waste your time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's maybe somebody else has better opinion than mine. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents from having been in those shoes before. So
here's another question. And I don't like to do anything unethical, but and this is what I'm struggling with, because I know that there's an issue with the property. I'm wondering what I should disclose and what I should not disclose.
that is a personal preference, is all I'll say. So it's that's a tricky one, especially agents aren't involved now. It's just you and the buyer potentially. So whatever your comfort level is with that, I would personally disclose what's going on. I'm not saying you wouldn't do this by any means, but I would tell them what's going on, just because in the case of like a gas line or something like that, right. If somebody was to start digging or doing things that they, you don't right. really think too much about, and somebody were to hit a gas line or something weird was to happen, I'm not saying they would come back and put anything on you, but you just never know. So if I know something, I try to always disclose that and just say, look, here's the deal, X, Y, and Z, because you never know why somebody might want it. Somebody might just want to ride their dirt bikes around or something. That might not make a difference to them. You have no idea. So
yeah. Okay.
I'd like to add on to her question, because in my background, I remember when I was in construction management, is finding that fine line of how much to disclose. Of course, I personally feel that, honesty is always going to get me, much further. But is there anybody have any guidelines, like, for like what do you decide, like how far you disclose? Because I do know, you can't give too much information that then could turn a deal, not in your favor. Does that make sense? Am I making sense of like what I'm really asking for?
I think it depends on the severity of what the issue is. Like I do deals in Florida, a lot of deals in Florida, and there's issues with like burrowing tortoises and owls, and there's like animals that can become inhabitants of some of these lots, and for that's a buyer's problem. They got to figure that out. Some people don't care. They'll say, sure, I'll take care of it, because you got to pay like $2 or $3 grand to safely remove them and all those things. So that's buyer due diligence. Now, if you start talking about like a sinkhole or gas lines or something that could be potentially like an issue, like to me, that's where I am an open book and try to disclose everything I know about that. And if it costs me a deal with a buyer, then it costs me a deal. But like, I feel like there's just like you're right. There's a certain line of like certain things as buyer's responsibility. But if it's like a big enough issue, I feel like I need to let them know, just for, trying to be like a decent person. And second thing, like something bad could happen, if you don't let them know what that could be. So that's just my 2 cents though. I don't know. A lot of people operate differently. I don't judge anyone for that. But I always try to operate on the side of disclosure, within reason, unless it's just minor stuff that the buyer can figure out.
So
thanks, that helps.
Going back to my problem property and the whole, I'm wondering, as far as marketing it, like would I disclose that,
I wouldn't put it in the actual ad, but if somebody calls and says, then you start having a conversation with them. It's like, we don't want to lead with the bad stuff and on marketing.
Right.
So
right. I'm like, I feel like it's going to turn everyone away. But
it might, you know what? But there's a buyer for everything. There's going to be somebody somebody out there is going to want the lot, and they're going to want it for some reason you haven't even thought of. It might just be something as simple as like camping. We just want a little spot to go camp a couple times a year, or ride our dirt bikes, or I don't know, sit and stare at the stars, like stare at the stars. Who knows? So that gas line might not be an issue at all to the right buyer.
Right. And I spoke to, I call her my mentor because she's given me great advice, but and she mentioned, and I'm not familiar with this at all. But there's something called, I don't even know the term, where it's kind of like where you rent out, where you can rent it out. I don't know if anyone's done it, like actually rented out their lots just for
I've heard of that. I have not done it.
like
But
Airbnb.
yeah, there's like a
But for
camping
land?
kind of site for that, or I think there's a few different places that do that. I've heard of it. I've looked at it. I've seen people post about that before. I've never personally done that, but I think that's a great way to bring some cash flow in on land.
The capital. Sure. Yeah, like after, of course, I'm thinking worst case scenario. If I try these other, cases and then they don't move, how to regain some of the capital.
Absolutely. I know it's the handful of lots I've had or properties I've had in the last few years that just turned out to be not great. It's just, it eats up a lot of your like mental capacity. It's like, oh, I just want to get rid of these. How do I get rid of these and not lose money? But
yeah, but sometimes like I had a lot that I thought I kept saying it was a bad buy. Because I had spoken to a realtor and then the realtor was like, oh, this is not in a good area. And so after that conversation, I was like, but so then I got someone else to move it. And it sat for a couple of months, but he found a buyer and I profited off of it. So I was like, well, again, kind of going with the, there's a buyer for everything. And I was like, do whatever the buyer wants. Let's just get it done.
No, I mean, call other agents too, and just say, hey, if you don't have it listed currently, call every agent you can find and see if they have a buyer for it, and let them know you'll pay them $500 or something to bring a buyer to the table. But you might not want to list it with them, or you might not want to list it with an agent. But if you call a bunch of agents and people who have represented previous buyers before in that area for similar type lots, you never know. Maybe somebody might have someone in their pocket that would buy it if the neighbors don't or whatever. But I always try to offer agents like $500, if I don't know them, to bring a buyer. If it's like a low dollar deal, if it's under maybe 10 grand or something. And a lot of times, if they just have somebody that they know, they'll call them. And if it works out, then they get a free $500. So that goes a long way.
And I wanted to share with her about up in Ohio, a lot of people do that, especially up in the rural area where I used to work at my HBCU. Actually, a lot of the land the university owned, and they would lease their land out to the farmers. So they call that, I guess, crop leasing or something. But I was even thinking about, even if I'm not sure what type of land you have or lots you have, but even if it's not a rule or anything like that, but there's so many different avenues, like you said, it could be used for a nature preserve. So, somebody that does research and whatever like that, and they need a lot of land undisturbed, there's so many different avenues to think about.
Right. I think I have to, one of the things that I need to get stronger in is just marketing things on my own, which, that's why I like the agents, because it's kind of like, I like to focus more on the acquisition side. And then, I don't care to give, a cut to them as long as there's, enough spread, and pass it along. So when things like now that I'm kind of running into, there's a few other properties that I have that I kind of just been holding on to just because, it's low taxes, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure this out later. Let me move what I can move. But now it's just kind of come to the point where I feel like it's too many of them. And I need to figure out the exit strategies if it's not going through agents.
Hey, Lisa, can I pop in? Can I pop in here for a second?
Sure.
Hi. Hey, so I just had somebody reach out to me looking for some cheap land to store vehicles. So, and I'm out here in Colorado. I heard you say it's desert land and they can't build on it. Is that the deal?
Yes, it's in Arizona.
Okay. And they can't build on it?
You know what? I actually haven't done my own, all of the due diligence on my side. I know that I had sent it to my realtor and who has other listings, and she said that there's a gas pipe running through it. So I'm not sure if that means you can't build on it. I'm thinking if you dig too deep, you'll have an issue. But I have to call the county to kind of get all of the information, see if you could park RVs on it, before I
Yeah,
figure out how to market it.
that's what I was thinking for storage. You could park 18 wheelers, guys that own 18 wheelers and stuff. They're looking for cheap property to store their vehicles on. And, maybe you could market it that way. You could rent spaces out if you care to hang on to it, or sell it to somebody that's wanting to rent spaces out. How far out of a metro area are you? Is it very rural?
It's in Mojave County, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
5 acres, so it's pretty.
it-
I mean, it's not huge, but it's a pretty decent size.
yeah, we've got a lot of that 5 acres for $5,000 type of property out here in
Yeah,
southeastern Colorado, where there's nothing but scrub brush, and not a tree for miles around.
right.
So I got an idea of what you're talking about there. But yeah, it's, to me, I mean, just my opinion, I would throw it out there, and if you make, 1,500 or $2,000 off of it, get your capital back. Because you're not comfortable with it. You bought it, you got buyer's remorse, you're looking for ways to get out from under it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I haven't even gotten the deed yet, but I just know, I had sent it to my agent to kind of just give her a heads up of what was in the pipeline, along with some other things. And then, this was one of the most expensive ones that I had bought, or two of them. And then that's what pissed me off, is that I bought two of them and they're close to each other. So
and
thinking
there's
that they
100 other 5 acre for $5,000 properties all around it, isn't there?
right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you can't even put, I mean, it's desert. You can't even put cattle on it or anything, right?
Right, yeah.
It's, you know what that is? That's an airplane graveyard. Is
Right.
I mean,
But
the desert's
But
great
I've
because
sold
things don't
desert,
rust.
people want desert, because I've also sold, other parcels in pretty close proximity, which is why I had reinvested there. So
Hey,
again,
somebody wants to run their sand buggy or something around on that. But I think, just listening to you talk, I would market that to storage, vehicle storage, truck storage, trailer storage, something like that. Um, Container storage. People want to put some containers on it, and and try to get your. I mean, if you made $2,000 off of it, it was an easy find, and you'll get your capital back.
right, but how would I find, I guess, you know, I'm under
Oh,
the
all right. So blast Facebook groups that have RVs, tractor trailers, off-road enthusiasts, that kind of stuff.
okay.
So just get on the Facebook groups in that area and type in those keywords and click on groups and say, hey, I've got 5 acres of desert for, storage or play or whatever, and throw your price on there. And I mean, you could take a picture of sand, really, you know,
Right.
but at the same time, it's free marketing. And I'm finding I get more hits like in the evenings after work when people get home. I mean, I'm getting responses at 10, 11 o'clock at night, even on my Facebook posts.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah, people kind of, when they're, getting ready for bed, it's like,
Yeah, they can't sleep and they get on
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah.
And
They're going to their
yeah,
phone.
but so that's just my
No,
opinion
that's
for whatever
great.
it's worth.
That's of course. I appreciate the feedback.
Also, to add to what Bob just said, you can also offer seller financing, right? Yeah. I mean, if you say 5,000 or even 3,000 people, I mean, might think it's a lot of money, but if you say it's only like 1999 with $150 payment every month, most people, I mean, like he said, if they just want to run their sand buggies or dirt bikes in there, yeah, most people would take it.
Yeah.
And good
Yeah,
luck,
that's-
Lisa.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to mention, I guess it really depends on the property, but what I'll do sometimes if I have a bad lot or something that, I'm not super excited to sell, I will put all of the bad stuff in the ad, all of the description, like everything that I don't like about the property in the ad description, and then just market it heavily, right? Sometimes it's a boosted ad on Facebook Marketplace. Because what that do is that filters out all of the buyers that are just going to message you. Because what I have found is in the past is, I got 1,000 text messages or inbox messages on Messenger trying to move a property. And as soon as they find out the bad part, now they're not interested. So I turned it around and put all the bad stuff up front and then do a real heavy push on it. Like Matt said, even just lower the price so much so where you just break even if you got to take a little loss. I think people in business are afraid to take a loss, but me for myself and my roofing company, which I don't do anymore, I sent out a mailer campaign of like $8,000 and I got 0 projects off of it. So if you have to take a little loss every now and then to move faster, to move on to something more important, to save your time and energy, then I highly encourage people, don't be afraid to just go backwards a little bit to go forward, because sometimes your time is more valuable, your mental energy is more valuable, those kinds of things.
I agree. It's taking up a lot of mental space, as you can see.
And it's frustrating, right? We feel like, man, I'm just getting ahead, or I'm just getting to a point where I feel happy or I feel comfortable where I am. And then bang, you got to take a loss. You're like, damn it, I wasn't ready for that. And sometimes that is the way to move forward. I wouldn't get too hung up if you got to go backwards a little bit, because not that I'm like ultra successful, right? I'm not a Grant Cardone or nothing, but man, I've taken some losses, and I'm also not afraid to take another one. It's just kind of part of the business. It just really depends on how much time do you want to spend with the property or something that you're just not interested in.
Right.
Yeah, I recently did it right now. I bought 108 acres and we subdivided it down into 10-acre tracts, and there's a lot of flood zone. I mean, there's just a lot of problems with this property, but I've sold 98 acres now, and I'm down to my last tract, and it was a little bit of trouble to get it moving. So I sent out a bunch of agent blasts. Like we blasted like 16,000 agents in San Antonio, and just a bunch of tire kickers, bunch of looks at it. We sold a bunch of them, but for whatever reason, it's just taking me forever to move this last one. So I just lowered it 20,000. I lowered the price 20,000 and I blasted it again to like 9,000 agents. And now I have multiple offers, multiple LOIs. Like people are going nuts. It's like a feeding frenzy, and I'm excited to have the activity. But I think even more than that, I'm just excited to have it off my plate. Like I'm just ready to be done with this lot already. I'm ready to go on to my next project. And then people are coming in and they're like, "Is that the best price?" I'm like, "Yes, that's the best price. I already lowered it 20 grand. I'm done with it, but I'm also not going to give it away. But it does feel good to have the activity and to know that I'm getting close to having it off my plate now. It's like, I would love to make the extra 20 grand, but it's just time to move on.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, Anthony, can I ask you, what are your thoughts on that ranch?
Dude, I like it. If we can write up that creative offer like we talked about, I'd say we do that. They are, like I said, top of the market. But if they can give us some time with it, if they're willing to let us help them move it, essentially, right? That's what we're asking them is, can we give you a little bit of capital to help you move this thing? Then I think that's the way to do it. If they're not up for it, we're not in any real hurry to buy it because it's not a screaming deal. But I think that was it. Did you ever send me a pin drop on it?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I never saw that.
Oh, it's halfway between San Antonio and Corpus.
Let me see this here.
It's Jordanton.
Yeah, man, that's a pretty good area. I mean, it's pretty country, but it's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely rural, but we're talking about 6,000 acres. Start chopping that up and getting that developed. My goodness, that would be incredible.
Yeah, so you got every developer on the planet looking for, development lots somewhere between 100 and 500 acres. And they always want to be like an hour or less from a major city. But
And
once
this
you
is
go
an
above that,
hour and a half.
yeah, once you go above the hour mark and you go above the, the 500 to 1,000 acre mark, then everything's interesting, right? Because people are willing to drive several hours if they can go out to a large enough property. But yeah, man, I say we go ahead and get that one written up. Let's write it up on like a creative finance deal with just like a minimal down. And then they would receive 100% of the proceeds as we sell off portions of it until paid off. And that seems to work pretty well. I've done that a few times. And that's kind of like the only strategy I can see there based on their price.
Well, I know they've been holding on to it they've been trying to sell it for a couple of years. So I was thinking offering them even less than the 3,600 an acre.
Yeah, we can come in even creative at 3,000, even 3,300, because again, like once you break it depends how small you break it down into those lots. We can make all kinds of magic happen, and then even do like a seller finance type deal, type notes. So as long as the seller's receiving 100% of the proceeds, hard for them to say no. And it sounds like the agent's open to working with us as well. So that's another plus. Sometimes the agents just shut you down right away when you bring it up. And this guy sounds like he's just ready to make something happen.
Yeah, cool. Because I want to keep I don't want to put this so far on the back burner that it stops, that it cools off. I want to strike while the iron's hot. And since he's excited, let's get something written up. And I mean, at this point, what can I do other than just, pass along information? I'm ready to work and willing to learn. Whatever you need from me, man, I'll do.
Are you familiar with writing up contracts already?
No, not really. I've only done one.
Okay, let's get on the phone tomorrow. Some more about One Central. Let's just go ahead and write up that creative offer and send it over. All they can say is yes or no, or they can make a counter offer.
Super. Excellent.
Okay, let's do it.
Hey,
Thanks, Anthony.
Hey, I got a question as well. I posted about this on Facebook regarding the commercial property where the owner wanted to do a seller finance thing. He actually ghosted me. Like I called him Tuesday and he did not answer my call. I'm going to try him again next week. But I just wanted to ask, this is like a very small lot, like 4 acres closer to downtown. But how would you structure it on a high level? I'm not sure if this is a deal or not. I'm just being curious, like how to structure like a creative deal with little money down, and how are you going to market it?
What part of downtown?
Phoenix.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were talking about. Yeah, we have somebody looking for downtown properties in Texas. Go ahead, Anthony. Oh, yeah.
No, I was gonna say there's really only a couple ways to set up a creative finance deal. One is you want to try to create a note out of thin air, right? So you want to leverage the property, you want to extract the equity out of the property over time and distance, right? So I'll give you an example. I had a guy who called me. He wanted like 35,000 for a lot, 38,000. I saw that he had it listed for that price and it didn't sell. It was listed for a good while. So after running my numbers, it's a pretty country area. I said, hey, I'll give you $8,000. He's like, no, I can't do it. I need like 25. I said, nope, 8,000. He calls me back 3 months later. And I said, wait a minute, this property sounds very familiar. He's like, yeah, nobody ever called me back from your office. I said, yeah, we did. I said, we offered you 8,000. He's like, yeah, that's me. How much would you offer me? I said, 8,000. So we ended up buying the property for 8,000. I found a buyer before I closed at 8,000. They put 8,000 down and $400 a month for 5 years. Right. Wow. So we turned it into just a free note without anything from me, maybe just some closing costs. So that's one way to set up a creative finance deal, right? Is where you have the new buyer, you're selling it like at top of retail or right below, where they'll put their down payment matches your purchase price, right? So that's one way to set up creative, like you're creating notes out of thin air. Those deals are actually more abundant than one might imagine, depending on how much marketing you're doing. The second scenario is the seller wants too much for the property. So there's something that you need to consider. You know, he wants too much for today's market, for today's date, right? So on March 24th, right, 2022, he wants too much for the property. But 5 to 7 to 10 to 15 years from now, that's a fantastic price. So you need enough time so that you can ride the appreciation to make that into a deal, right? So the property's worth 100, the guy wants 105. I'll give him 105, if he can let me carry those payments for 5 to 10 to 20 years. Because now I don't care what he wants for the property because I'm not buying it at today's price. I'm buying it at a future appreciation value. So the deal might look like this. Property's worth 100. The guy wants 105. I say, cool, I'll give you 105, but I'm going to give you equal payments spread out over 10 years. And he says, that sounds great. It sounds fine. So that's all you're doing is you're just giving monthly payments. And as the property becomes more valuable over time and distance, then the property be worth more to you later. So the way that you would make that valuable, sorry,
go ahead. I didn't mean.
Yeah. So the way that you could monetize that today and tomorrow is you say, hey, sir, I'm going to give you $5,000 down, right? $10,000 down, for instance. Let's say 5,000. Now, all I got to do is people that are going to buy owner finance. I mean, those deals are hard to find, right? You have to be a pretty savvy investor doing a ton of marketing to find those kinds of deals. So the guy agrees to 105,000, $5,000 down, and $500 a month. So all I need to do is find owner finance buyer, somebody probably who doesn't have the credit, but they have the cash, right? Where they're willing to put down $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 as their down payment and pay me $1,000 a month, right? And also you can play with the interest, and Daniel might be able to speak to this more than myself because he runs my numbers. Let's say you buy it from the guy for 0 interest, or 2% interest or 5% interest. I turn around and I sell it for 10% interest. Right. So not only are you making money on the appreciation, you're also making money on the interest. You make a little bit of money on the down payment, and you're making money on the monthly because you're paying the seller $500 a month when you turn around and sell it for $1,000 a month at 10% interest. So you can get paid multiple times.
Yep. I mean, if it is like a smaller lot, like 100K price, then probably it would make sense for me to pursue it. But this is like, he paid like 1.3 million back in 2006 for 4 lots. They're all together. So right now, based on my comps, I'm not an expert. I might be a little off. The max anyone would pay for it is based on the market comps around the area is like 1.5 million. So even if I get it under seller financing, I cannot afford the payments every month. So what would be a better way to dispose it without actually paying anything to the seller?
So
or maybe structure something. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So we usually get it for contract. We usually try and get under contract for 90 days or more. So that gives you time to find a buyer for it at that time. So if they're willing to owner finance it, find out whatever those terms are, you're still going to do due diligence of 90 days plus, but then you go out and find a buyer that's going to put more down and pay more than your monthly. And that's how you cash flow that.
Got it. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is, man, it sounds like maybe, and this might just be a mental block, I could be completely wrong, but just for anybody else listening, the price of the property doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a 10,000 or 100,000 or a million. Everybody's in the same situation because you're going to have all spectrum of sellers, of property owners. You have people that are, emergency situation where they need to get rid of it. Sometimes they need to get rid of it so bad they're willing to pay you to take it off their hands. And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum where they're like, no, I'm just going to hang on to it until I die or I get what I want. Right. So you have to find a seller that's willing to work with you at some kind of reasonable terms where it would make sense for both of you. And then sometimes it's not unreasonable to ask the seller to sell at a loss. Right. So he paid 1.2 million for it in 2006. Say, well, I'm sorry, sir, but it sounds like from everything I've looked at is you're going to have to take a loss. Right. My offer is 800 cash or 700 cash. If I'm going to give you 1.2, so you can at least recoup 100% of your proceeds, I'm going to need some kind of terms on it. We're going to have to work something out over time and distance because I'm not going to remove 1.2 million from my account to put it in yours because you made a bad business deal. And sometimes that's what people need to hear. Yeah.
Actually, that was a mental block for me. Yeah.
Yeah, man, forget the numbers. Who cares about the numbers? It's really about deal structure, building trust with your sellers, not taking advantage of anybody. I've been in a position a lot of times to be able to take advantage of a seller, and I just decline every single time. Right. So just acting in other people's best interest, doing the right thing. More times than not, you'll be in a position where you can help somebody where you both win, right? So I think, forgetting the numbers. Who cares about the numbers? If you're having a problem with numbers, start making bigger offers on bigger properties that you're not comfortable with. So if your comfort zone is $1 million or $2 million, start offering on properties that are 4 million and 6 million. Offer them 50%. Offer them 50 cents on the dollar. You have it for 4 million. Offer them 2. Just so you can get used to making those types of offers and talking about those kinds of numbers. Try to get them on the phone. See what's up, and you'll be surprised, man. We had a deal we were trying to work. The lady wanted 10 million for a ranch. We find her a buyer at 9.2, and she said no. I'm just gonna hang on to it. But it felt good to me to be talking about a property that's worth $10 million. I got all these agents calling my phone, so stretching yourself out, getting outside of your comfort zone, all that stuff goes a long way.
Got it. Thanks a lot, man. That was much needed for me. Thank you very much.
Heck yeah, brother, man. Thank you for bringing it up and for giving us those scenarios so we can have these conversations.
Yep.
I guess that's pretty much it, guys. That's the Thursday call. It's been about an hour. We have canceled until further notice the Saturday clubhouse call. It just feels like we just had a bunch of things going on, and asking people to jump on 3 calls a week. It seemed to be a lot. So we're gonna have our Monday call and our Thursday call at thehiveislive.com, like you're on right now. So yeah, we appreciate you being on here, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday.